Channel Park and Recreation Board of Directors meeting order. So can I get a roll call?
I just talked to Don on the phone and said that it's about 5 minutes away.
Okay,
So
and do
he's-
you want to, we don't need to wait though, do we? Okay,
And Bart said that he would try to attend remotely, but he may not be able to attend, and he is not with us, so we just have Jim McMaster.
I will entertain a motion for the approval, or are there any additions to the agenda?
Yes, I submitted resolution 030122. It's to go for a grant.
Okay, I'm gonna put that under action items, number
Alright.
D.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second? Make a motion.
You
I
make a
motion to
motion.
approve.
All right, second? Yep, you want a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. I will now entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Gail. I have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second it again.
Thank you, Jim. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. We are now at public participation, and so, Tom, you have asked to.
Thank you. I spoke to this group last October 28th, and the subject was I was asking CPRD to disengage their efforts to be engaged with the Yamhilis West Sider Trail. So I've got a letter, and I'll read the first two paragraphs, and then I'll ask if I can just leave the rest. I don't want to get in trouble with the timekeeper. I cut it real close last time. So I'll just start with my letter. CPRD management has stated that a decision for pursuing the Yamhilis West Sider Trail project will be based on the outcome of approaching elections for commission positions. Those May 17th elections have the potential to return the Board of Commissioners to a pro-trail majority. The problem with that thinking is that LUBA, that's the Land Use Board of Appeals, found against the county 5 of 5 times when the BOC was a pro-trail majority years ago. Now let that sink in. The CPRD management waits for an election outcome that allows for a decision based on a strategy that was tried 3 years ago and failed. The lesson some learned in those years was that this is a legal matter. It's not a popularity contest. CPRD management knows the legal history and yet chooses to engage in the game called for by friends of the Yamhilis West Sider Trail in their Facebook posts, public relation campaigns, and public record emails, which are in this book, The Truth About the West Sider Trail. I can read them later if anybody wants me to. One of those public relation events had CPRD facilitating a Friends poll of low information citizens. Should this taxing district be managed that way? Shouldn't the taxing district demonstrate a responsibility only to the taxpayers who fund its operations and pay the salaries of its staff, and not to a private group from outside the area? And okay, I got about another 3 paragraphs, and Madam President, I'll ask that I not read them, but I ask if I may just give these letters to the board members, to Dawn and to Kat for the record, and then I'll be here for if anybody's got any questions. At the bottom of this is my email and my phone number. I think if anybody wants to discuss it, they might be more comfortable doing it one-on-one and not in a public setting like this. So I'll just do that, and then I'll sit down and shut up.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
All right, does anybody have questions for Tom at this time? right,
Thank you.
all right, thank you, Tom, we
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is Rod Grinberg on?
Well, I don't see him here. But,
Give me a call if you want to talk.
Is that him there?
It might be, so thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Appreciate it.
yes,
I appreciate you letting me talk.
all right, just sign in real quick. And you're up.
Oh, wow.
It's like run, breathe, talk.
While Rod is signing, we've been discussing various things for a number of years. He is associated with Lindquist, which owns the property in Dundee on the waterfront and all of that area.
Where the paddle launch was?
Well, no, to the right.
Adjacent to it.
Adjacent, right. So, anyway, without further, I'll just turn it over.
Okay, I thought you guys were doing the presentation, I was coming to say hi and introduce myself. Yeah, so as you may, I don't know how much you folks know about the Riverside District and how much you've kept up with it, but it's basically, all the property along the Willamette River, down Edwards Drive, that will eventually double the size of the city of Dundee or close to it. And the Lindquist family owns more than half of that property. There's basically two majority owners. And with the city, we finally, the family's owned the property since 1975, I think. And trying to do something with it ever since. But we've been talking for years about different concepts. So we're talking about golf courses and talks about, just how do we parks and open spaces and how do we make this the most beneficial for us as a property owner and the future development and for the city and the residents of the city. And so it came to, we've been talking about doing some park stuff up top, but I'm not sure if you're aware, we have one 15-acre site that's on the west side of the bypass, which we recently sold to the school district. And the plan is they're going to relocate the Dundee Elementary School on that parcel. So that leaves the rest of our property essentially on the river side of the bypass. And we've been talking with Dawn and for several years we heard about the fact that you guys lost the paddle boat, call it a dock. And so we've been looking at different options. We originally were looking at something on the south end of the property, a full courts landing. But it became, after a lot of meeting, a lot of time discussing it and exploring it, it became obvious that, at least to you guys, and I think probably for everybody's benefit, the north end, where there's an existing gravel road that comes down between the Lindquist property and the Edwards property, it would probably make the most sense. And so we'd like to get something happening out there, get some activity. There's the bypass is a problem, can't ignore it, but we want to try to offset it and make this a real benefit for the community. So we've been talking lately with Dawn about doing a land swap. You folks own a 5-acre parcel on what would that be, the north side?
Yes.
Yeah, on the north side.
Right, straight.
That is unfortunately zoned industrial, which will never be developed industrial. But and utilities aren't there, and it's probably 10 or 15 years off from being. But and looking at the long term, the family feels like maybe we're something someday, and we'd like to see some activities going on down there. And I know as a park district, you folks have some interest, so we're talking about doing some sort of a land swap to give you guys some sort of a permanent easement down to the river to establish a dock for non-motorized
boating, paddle boats, kayaks, canoes, whatever. And a small parking, staging area. And then in trade for, exchange for, this 5 acres of property, future development property. And we've also had a lot of discussions about, we know it's very important to the board and the city and everyone to get the trails program going. And so I don't think we're quite ready to get there yet, but we would look forward to a relationship where eventually we get to work out and have a pathway along the Willamette, the whole area. And just try to work out a win-win for all the parties involved. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Yes, John.
There's 2 steps to this process. Rod, feel free to speak up. The first step is they have agreed that we can move forward with the paddle launch with an easement being granted for that particular area along 8th Street. We would move on that. I took Bart out there, showed Bart the property, and we've looked at it. And we agree with what was said at the meeting, Rod, that we would get as close to 8th Street as possible in that particular thing, right below the wells there. And that would be step number 1. Step number 2 would be to decide what we could do with the 5 acres up above and to swap that out for the land down below. And that's still to be negotiated and worked on. But I did discuss with Mr. Lindquist and the group at the meeting that if we go out and work on the deal, they're willing to give an easement in the perpetuity. That means that we won't spend money and they take it back. And we made that clear that we were not interested in doing that. So those were the keys, and the direction will go. I think it will take some time, and there'll be some negotiating. The first thing that we'll do is get our attorney to draw up an easement agreement to turn over to them so that we can agree on that. And that will be step number 1. Then step number 2 would be for the board to decide that the 5 acres that you would want to sell that or swap that, which I would recommend probably a swap for the other property and the easement property as well. So that would be something we can go at.
I will, since you invited me to interject, I do think that the families, legal team will probably would rather try to combine that into one step. Just like you wouldn't want to start spending money on a temporary easement. I think listen, hopefully it's not, I don't mean to rock the boat here or anything, but I think what they want is let's get a current appraisal of the 5 acres, get a current appraisal of what this easement to get down to the dock. And, there are appraisers who specialize in unusual things like that, and try to figure out what's amenable there, and execute a permanent, like you said, easement for that, and do that transaction. And then take a second step being figuring out what portion of the remaining property would benefit CPRD and the city and residents to go into a trust or for the future never to be developed, and probably we do some sort of like a tax contribution donation or something along those lines. But I think that would be a longer process, and I think hitting the first part, those first two you talked about going into one, I think is the
All right,
best.
but unless the board has objection to that, that's the way that we're going to proceed with the process. So,
Do any board members have questions? Yes, Jim?
Yeah, so are we looking at the top of that bluff there, all the way down on that one side there, John? Beside the road, and we have an easement, there is an easement coming down that road. What are we looking at, an acre, 2 acres, 3 acres? What are we discussing?
Do you have an exhibit?
I put an exhibit in your board, or I put it in your packet. If you notice where 8th Street is,
Mhm.
going down, 8th Street,
I don't remember
Well,
seeing any exhibit in the packet. I just saw the exhibit that was for the campground. Did you remember seeing an exhibit for the MD for the beach?
I saw the maps, but I think you're right, I think it was the
he's got it.
Down at the bottom where you
Yeah.
go 8th Street.
It's right here is the first area that will go,
Yeah,
right at the bottom of 8th Street.
yeah, and so this above here is owned by the Edwards family.
Right.
From 8th Street down to here is owned by the Lindquist family. And so
And we-
it would be along 8th Street for the
We
easement.
own this 5-acre spot right in here.
So we're talking about the floodplain property,
That's correct.
so we're looking at all the floodplain. Not above it?
Right.
No, it's all that.
It's all wetland.
Right.
Well, so what does that do to, I mean, in a wetland situation, I mean, I know we're using it for park and recreation, right? But I mean, my limited understanding of wetland is anytime you do anything in a wetland, you have to then mitigate it with other land that you would have. So how does that work?
Well, it's not mitigating, it's, we would have to work with the state marine board, which we would, and the river keepers and those, which Bart is aware of. And we talked about that, and we got to get access down to the river. So it will take some time.
Right.
But,
It's not like we're gonna build anything down there.
right,
There will be no structures down there. It'll be like temporary things or things that we can go on.
So like it was with the old
Yeah.
one?
that's correct.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a wetland down there more than just the floodplain. There's a difference, and I guess I'd have to.
Yeah, it's a floodplain, Jim, you're right.
30 feet above the river.
But it does, that is one area that does flood. When just to give you some history, when we had the paddle launch at Tom Edwards property, there was a place where we put the semi to house the kayaks, and it was above where we had that flood. But anytime it does flood, it comes in the Lindquist side first and then comes over to Edwards.
Correct.
In theory, we would move everything out anyway. So
Right.
it wouldn't really affect it in the long run. I just want to give people an idea that will flood probably every 2-3 years.
But I'm guessing that the paddle launch isn't gonna be used during the flooding season anyway.
I would hope not.
No, it's something that would be normal, as you well know, Rogers Landing floods. The boat launch there floods totally underwater, even the restroom is underwater. So, but we'll just be working on that, but wanted to bring it to the board. I think they needed to know that you were on board with moving ahead with this. I think that's the main issue.
I really wish Bart were here, because, you know, he's the biggest proponent of this in the first place, and so getting his input would be really helpful.
I did go down with Bart. Casey was there Bart was pretty excited. I'm not speaking for him, but he gave me the impression he was pretty much ready to move on it, thought it was a good idea. But of course, he can speak for himself, but I've heard nothing but that from him.
Yeah, no negative comments.
Right. I think if he was here, he'd say, yes, let's move ahead. Because he wants that paddle launch back.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right, does anybody have any other questions for Rob?
I mean, I guess that's what we are asking. Is this something you folks think is a good idea and we should be pursuing?
I think we should look into it, yeah.
Great.
I do. I don't know.
Yes, I apologize for being late, caught some out-of-town traffic I wasn't anticipating. We've been talking about trying to work something out with either Lindquist or the Edwards family for at least 20 years. So let's move forward.
I've worked on this property
Yeah.
in 95.
Yeah, that would be- What about you, Jim?
Yeah, I think we should move forward. I'm just not familiar with where the boundaries are that we're talking about, floodplain versus buildable property. But I do agree that the paddle launch was a huge hit with the public, and it'd be great to see it back.
Now, if we could just combine it with snow wall.
Yeah. No, just give us more land. Kidding. Well, thank you very much.
Okay,
Rob.
thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it.
take care. All right, I don't know if there's anybody on Zoom that might want to have public comment.
No public.
There's no public, it's just us, it's chickens. Okay. Then we can move on to our action items, and it looks like the first thing that is on here is the approval of the contract with Kittleson Association for transportation engineering services for the campground.
Yes, developing the campground requires some studies to apply to ODOT for ingress and egress from that property. And in order to apply for any grants or anything, all that has to be done. And they currently ODOT's working on phase 2A, I believe, which is the on-off ramps for 219 onto the new bypass.
Yeah.
And it might be a really good time to engage with them, because I know they're gonna extend a lane not only far out, but it might be helpful for us to engage with ODOT and getting some traffic studies done.
If we can get the traffic study done, talking with ODOT, he said that it is possible, they've agreed to nothing, but it is possible that we could combine their project with our project, save a lot of money. So, makes sense.
Does anybody have questions before I ask for a motion? Can I have a motion?
I move we approve the contract as presented.
Second?
I can go ahead and second it.
All right, thanks, Don. It's moved and Jim has seconded approval of the contract with Kittleson Association. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, next.
This is the same contract I got to last month, and you had a question on phase 3. And the reason it's back in front of you is that they have a number on that phase 3.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to.
Yeah, I noticed that. So thank you. Appreciate it. All right, next on the action items is a discussion of Rennie Field development with the Newburgh School District.
The board may be aware or not aware, but the school district received money $750,000 for redoing the Rainy area. Some time ago, we met with the superintendent of the schools, the school board over there, about two things. Number one was turfing that ball field and that area, and then also about the pickleball. I think the pickleball is probably not going to occur there, but the turfing of the fields, it would meet one of our goals that we've had for a long time, a soccer complex. And Julie's done a lot of work on this and had a lot of foresight. And so I'll turn it over to Julie, and Julie,
Yeah.
let you.
So I met with Dave Brown, a couple of years ago, and I think we kind of talked about this at the last board meeting, but that piece of Rennie property is one of, in my opinion, like the best property in Newburgh. It's flat, it's large space, it's in an area that needs some improvement, and we would love to be able to use that space for soccer, because like I mentioned last time, we have so many kids that are playing soccer, and what a great opportunity now that outdoor recreation is really kicked up, and due to COVID that we play our soccer games in the outfields of softball fields. I think I've mentioned that a few times. And right now we have 500 kids signed up for spring soccer, which is something that we haven't offered in the past, but because of COVID, we felt there was a need for it. And so the response has just been tremendous. And so, turf in Oregon, we feel is a priority. We would be able to, we wouldn't have to cancel any games. Softball weekends right now are hit and miss because of the weather. We have to cancel games all the time. And just the turnover, it would save us in maintenance, versus having a grass field. We just feel that would be just a great place for kids and the community. So I met with Lisa George last week and Dave, and talked about kind of what they see, what their vision is for that property. And they would like to improve, they're kind of looking to us for direction, but they would like to partner with us and spend some money out there to improve that field, put turf down there, maybe potentially put a walking track around the outside. We envision bathrooms out there as well. There are 2 baseball fields out there for the older kids. They have 90-foot base paths. So obviously this is school district property. And so we would lease that property from them for, what was it, Don? We kind of talked about 99 years.
I told them it would have to be a long-term lease, at least 99 years. As the board is aware, we currently own over at Crater, where the football field is that the middle school uses. They could not have built that middle school there without us agreeing that they could use that field. And what we did is basically just did away with borders. This will be a similar situation as it was there. The only difference is it'll reverse. They will allow us to utilize that property, and we'll have first use of that unless when the school is built, or if the school is built, a middle school, then they would have first priority only during the school hours, and then we'd run it the rest of the time. And so I think it's good. It will save the taxpayers a lot of money long term, and I think anytime you do something like that, that's good. So I'm all for it. what we would agree to are in this discussion is the school district would put 750,000. We would put at least 750,000, and that'd be 1.5 million. And we would move to turf that field. We're meeting with the group tomorrow. Is it tomorrow, Casey, or
I think it's the 29th.
29?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're meeting with the group to get all the cost estimates. When I talk about cost estimate, they're the ones that do these type works across the state. The school district will be involved and we'll be bringing a lot of stuff back to you. But I thought it was important that the board be made aware of this and agree to move ahead. If you don't agree to this, then we don't move.
So is it just the field then that we're talking about, that we would have this lease on? What
We're
area?
not really sure at this point. Like I said, it's kind of preliminary. I think what the school would want would be at least a field and possibly the track replaced. And we can't go any further than that, but you never know, the opportunities are there to put in another field or whatever. It's a big place. But we also don't know what the school footprint would be like, and they're pretty non-committal on most of the rest of the property.
And also, I think it would be important to build a building out there. That building would be restrooms with a concession area as well. There's already some storage areas on site, but we would definitely want a restroom out there, in my opinion, with a small concession area as well. And we would be responsible for building that at some point.
Very similar to McMinnville, they have it's called Baker Field. That's a very, very, very similar area and footprint out there. And I spent a lot of time out there. They have a track around that soccer field. It's a regulation high school field, and then they have a football practice field at the end that has that have goalposts, and they also have, like Dawn mentioned, bathrooms. They have a little concession area, and then a little place for storage of soccer goals and those kinds of things. I want to mention too that if you look around at the communities that are similar to us, Canby, Wilsonville, Sherwood, McMinnville, they all have this type of facility for their kids, and it's highly used. I've talked to Sherwood, both City of Sherwood, they own that Schneider Park up there, and the school district, and they are using all of their fields, incredibly. They're busy all of the time. And so I think this would just be great for us. It'd be great for the school district. It'd be a great partnership between us. And I think you see so many kids out there playing. Right now, if you drive by PCC field, it's packed, and it will be. We'll have baseball out there and soccer and lacrosse in just a few weeks.
So the school is going to provide the first 750, and then we would make up the rest. Is that what you said?
Well, we're still trying to get a grasp of how much we'll eventually need. What I'm asking you is to commit to at least 750,000 at the appropriate time, because then we can go ahead and move on this and get this out of the way.
Is that expected to be something that we recoup, or is that just we're making the community better?
That's making the community better. But let me say this, that there could be a long-term savings. I think a ball field is like this carpet. You walk on it so long, it wears out. A ball field is no different. We're way overutilizing our crater facility in the winter. It needs time to aerate, to do those type things, and to do aeration. And we the board has said that we need to build a soccer facility at somewheres. We looked at the George Fox site. We've looked at several different sites across the community. This has given us an opportunity to meet that demand. And in meeting that demand, we have a partner. And that partner is bringing in $750,000. So that's a good amount of money. And I'd say, let's move ahead.
And that's what we're voting on right now, is whether to commit 750.
That, yes, you would need to commit that amount.
So I have three questions. One, the school district did secure that money that they were talking about?
Yes, they did. I was told that they did secure the money.
Okay.
So that is a given.
Okay. Julie, how much do you anticipate this will alleviate use on the baseball fields?
A tremendous amount. We have more participation in soccer than any other sport here in our community. And it just continues to grow. So, and our softball complexes and are in Jakewood as well. You know, if you drive by there on the weekend, they're parked on the grass, on the road. It's tremendous. And so Napa, Benji, who we contract with for softball, they bring so many people into the community every weekend that I kind of foresee the same thing for the soccer fields as well.
Okay, I mean, I like the idea that two public entities are going in together to
Right.
use, money to reinvest in an area of town that needs some reinvestment. So I mean, I like all that. My third question would be, after several of us, Dawn, Casey, Julie, Gail, me, I think that was it from our, we met with school district people. Afterwards, we had some discussion about, okay, this might be a good idea, but let's use our participation to leverage something else. Most likely some agreement that they're going to give us some property in Dundee for the pickleball facility. I'm not hearing you talk about that.
Well, as you well know, the school district has committed to doing that. Larry has said that. The board is aware of it. They're aware of it. We could do the agreement. And I put in your packet kind of an outline for an agreement. And what I would recommend that when we take this agreement to their board for approval, that we state about the pickleball facility in Dundee and put that in the agreement, Don. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's what I want to do, because I know Larry is gung ho and wanting to do that, but Larry has no authority to do it.
That's correct.
So.
And we'll put that in the
It can't
agreement.
hurt to put it in there. If they shoot it down, then we can talk about it.
The board needs to decide tonight that you're willing, you don't have to approve it, but you're willing to move ahead, because we have to commit in the agreement the $750,000. And I don't want to do that without you're willing to do that. And
That's good, because you can't.
right. So
I,
that's,
for one, am willing to do that, but I do want to try to leverage it to our best advantage.
I totally agree. And we will have the agreement drawn up and brought back to you in the future by which to agree to. Then we'll ship it off to the school.
Okay, I just wanted to talk about it while we're talking.
Right.
If I could just ask for some clarification, Jim, you want to go first? You can go
That
first.
doesn't matter, I'll ask, whatever.
So we're talking about the football field that's right there, Randy?
Mhm.
So I guess I'm just trying to understand how one football field is going to alleviate all of this usage of other space when there's 500 kids wanting to play soccer. So how does that work? I mean, how is it that it's really actually providing that respite?
Yeah, so we can have two different games depending on so they don't all play on a full-size field, right? So sometimes they play from the middle to the ends kind of thing, or they play this way. It depends on their age. So we can have a lot of Jaquith and Crater during the fall season. They are busy. We have games scheduled from 8 to about 3 or 4 on those fields. So that will be helpful. But what we envision for this is just phase 1 of developing that property. We would love to turf all of that field, eventually for, doing the baseball side too.
So like the in-between where all the little kids, where you have make-believe soccer fields out of that space.
Exactly, yeah.
But we don't know where they're gonna be building. But if we give this money and we develop that piece will not change. Is that what we're understanding? The other parts might,
Right,
but that piece is the one that won't change.
right.
Okay.
I know that the school district is gonna meet, Jim, you'll be a part of this, is gonna meet with Rotary and Kiwanis and ask for additional dollars to be spent out there as well. So the thought is that if you build it, they will come, that we will have additional, there'll be other things that will be built out there as well.
Jim?
Yeah, I am 100% in favor of the soccer fields. I know how badly our community, Newburgh and Dundee, need those. I mean, it's pretty evident when I was the supervisor how some of those fields would begin to rot because so many kids are playing on them, and we finally had to cancel at times because the fields were rotting and they smelled like basically rotten eggs. So there is a need, but my question is there a plan laid out outside of the football field? Because I think, in my opinion, you will need more than that just small space to be able to put in what you want as far as where the need is. And I understand how soccer's played out there. I understand how the fields were laid out since I was involved with that. So are we Lisa asked the same question. Are we just talking about synthetic field for the football field, which that football field, by the way, is one of our best draining fields.
Exactly.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and also we, as a district, put in the irrigation on that field way back in the day.
2000.
Yeah, but so what I'm trying to say is that I don't even think that's enough. I mean, a little bit's better than nothing. But if we can push for a little better plan and see if we can do something else in there also, that would be great. I know that, if you're looking at a facility, you have bathrooms and so on, we're talking quite a bit of money. I think we're talking a lot more than what the two entities are talking about right now. I know that we did run power out to the shack out there.
Yeah.
Ways away, yeah, but I'm just, I'd like to see a plan. I'm sure that's coming to us.
It is, and we're gonna be meeting on the 29th with, what is his name?
Bernhardt,
Daryl Bernhardt.
turf field, and AKS engineering.
Yeah, so we have that meeting on the
So-
29th.
There's nothing on paper yet, Jim, so it's not, but they're going to meet with us and talk about what we want, and then we're gonna go down to the field and have a look, and we're gonna go from there. I've given them, Google Earth document, and this is what it is, and but we're gonna develop it so that if it's needed, or if in the future we can do some more down there, then at least it's there to tie into with drainage or whatever we're doing down there.
Yeah, I definitely like to see, a bigger plan, because I know that 10 years down the road, folks will be back
Yeah,
asking for more space,
sure.
if not sooner. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
I have one other question I meant to ask. So my understanding is that lifespan of a turf field, if it gets, normal use, is about 10 years. This is gonna get at least normal use, if not more than normal. Has there been any discussion with the school district about, who pays what when that field has to be replaced?
That should be part of the agreement. I agree with you, Don. As you well know, and I'll talk to the superintendent, we've not discussed any of this.
They don't have one.
Right, but what I was going to discuss with them is that we share in that cost. Since we shared in the deal, we just share 50-50 on the replacement cost. They also collect an exercise tax on all development in the community. And they can use that money, which they used it. But we'll put that in the
I
agreement.
think that needs to be addressed.
Yes. I would agree in the
Trust
agreement.
us, I don't necessarily trust them.
And I would also like to mention too, that this is just not a soccer field. It could be a multi-purpose field, meaning that we will play our football games out there, we could play our lacrosse games out
Right.
there. We could have summer camps out there. You bring up the turf and
That's
so,
why it's gonna wear out within 10
Yeah.
years, if not sooner.
yeah,
The high
Yeah,
schools
but
had
it's not
vision
gonna-
for 12 years and they're just replacing it this year.
and it's
They're
kind of how you
not
take.
gonna use it as much as we're gonna use this one.
But they take, part of it is taking good care of it. You really do have to take good care of it. But the high school
I'll
is
pull
going to
all the
be,
weeds that we need to.
what's that?
I'll pull the weeds that we need to.
So, the high school, they're, after graduation, they're gonna tear up the turf field at the high school and they'll be putting new turf down. And, so we have all of our summer camps essentially on that field. And so we will not be able to use that facility at all. So our summer camps, we're gonna have to go to Plan B on those types of things. And so if this were to happen, we were to have something like this, we wouldn't be in that situation. But we plan to use this for all of our outdoor sports, all of our camps. And so it's not just a soccer field. I should have mentioned that initially.
I understood that. I'm not against it at all. I just want to make sure that, our respective CYAs come.
Yeah, yep, I agree.
I have one more question too, is that if there's gonna be a school built there, they probably want the regulation track. I was gonna say, if that's not needed, and you just wanted to put a, walking area, running area that's larger than that, maybe you could put a larger area for that synthetic turf on that spot. Just a thought, I don't know, because it's quite, you can go wider and you can go longer in that area, but if they want a regulation track, then that's a different story.
Yeah, in our middle schools, neither one has a track. And so we do have a middle school track program. We have about 150 kids that participate. And we've struggled with that for the last couple of years. We've since created a relationship with the high school, Ramey at the high school, and he has been so generous. We started the Newburgh Track Club with him. And so now our middle school kids are able to practice after the high school kids at the high school. But it is difficult because lacrosse comes in right after that. And they don't want, they get priority over us at the high school.
There are several things to keep in mind as we go through with this. The first thing, when we get with this group, we'll have a discussion. When you put things underground, that is drainage, those type things, we got to have a plan for the entire site, because in the drainage, we have to make sure it's large enough that we don't have to go back and dig up. With the track, it was discussed that we would probably have 6 lanes. I didn't fight the idea because I think 6 lanes may be adequate. As you well know, the high school is 8 lanes, and most of the time. The question that I have is, what is the difference in the price of a 6 lane versus an 8 lane? I think you'll find that an 8 lane is about the same price as a 6-lane. If that's the case, then I'd rather have the 8-lane. But we're not there yet. We'll get there. But we kind of need the board to agree that we move ahead. Don Gail was at the meeting with the school district, and we're getting to a point. We had talked about the agreement, who was going to write the agreement up or whatever, and that has not been decided, but I put in your board packet kind of letter or agreement that we already have with the schools. And I'm going to take the initiative to go ahead and draw it up.
Yes, we should offer to write the agreement.
Right.
Yeah, well, yes, but I do have a question ahead of time, right? Like, so we have this list of projects that we're constantly working on, right? Where does this fit into that list?
Well, it does, sort of, because soccer complex is on that list.
Yes.
Far
all
more than
I'm
a West
saying,
Side
though,
trail.
is that there's a lot of projects that are kind of in the process of moving forward. Does this take precedent over that? Do we stick it in, you know, you got Sanders Estate, you got the trails, you got all kinds of things going on, and we only have a limited number of people working here, so.
Well, but I would recommend moving ahead with this, because anytime you have a project that's offering to pay part of it, $750,000, it makes sense. We will probably apply for some type of grant in the future anyway. And we'll see how much it comes out. But this falls within the priorities that we've established.
I know, but I don't feel like I'm getting my question answered. I mean, does that put the Sanders property on hold till
No.
this
No,
happens?
we're applying for a
No.
grant for Sanders too.
Not grants, I'm talking, like, you have to project manage all of this, Casey. Like, you only have so many hours in a day. So I'm
Lisa.
trying to,
Lisa, we did a golf course, cultural center. We're used to this. We've done it over the years. And we'll do this. It's not a problem for us.
It shouldn't be that difficult relatively, right?
No.
I appreciate what you're saying. I'm more than
I mean,
willing to veto
you-
this and put the
you can
$750,000
I'm not
into a
saying
clubhouse.
to, I'm not,
happy to do that.
I'm sure you are. I'm not trying to veto it, I'm also trying to make sure that, you know, we're saying that we are going to approve more money and focus. And I'm not saying that we don't need it, Gilly. I
Yeah.
understand the need and everything else, but there's other people waiting for other things to happen on all of these other properties that we have too. And if those keep getting kicked down the road to come up with these ones that have 750,000 to them, eventually you're gonna get people really complaining, right? And I get concerned about what we're putting on to the staff as well. I know what you're saying, Dawn, I get it, and we don't manage the staff, but I think that we have to be aware that when we're saying yes to something, what that means, right?
If I was a board member and I was approached by the public with that question, I'd say, if you come to the table with 750,000, we'll move yours up to the front.
Yeah, I think you'll get a lot of pushback because,
Well,
I understand and appreciate what you're saying, but I do feel that this is one of the key projects. It is a place for soccer has
Exactly.
always been one of those items on the list.
and the one thing I
So it
thought,
moves up
I
within the
know, I
list
get it.
because we're getting some other money for it.
and Lisa, I fought this for 30 years. I've told the board, you don't set priorities, because when you set priorities, you miss opportunities. And by missing opportunities, you're actually hurting the community more than you're helping them.
well, we do set priorities because we have to in order to be able to spend any money on.
There's
Habitat,
nothing
so-
wrong, provided that you don't shut out the opportunities. And as opportunities mount, when we started a number of years ago, the Sanders Park was not even on the radar. But because of a gracious donation and because of an opportunity, we put it on there. And I think that was smart. And I think we should always remember that. And we should look at the opportunities as they present, because if you don't, you'll lose them.
Well, we agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just making sure that, you know, we have ways of responding and that we're thinking about what we're doing. Yes, Jim?
Well, my understanding is, it sounds
You're
like
muted or
there's,
something, we can't hear you.
can you not hear me?
Wonderful. Oh.
Huh.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Anyway, it sounds to me like, you know, when you get a money like that offered to you, you should take a hard look at it, and if you can match it and use it, that's great. But, you know, we're not really voting. We're voting on going ahead and continuing the process, but we're not voting on doing it yet. We haven't seen a plan and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm looking at right now. I don't have a problem with, you know, matching money that doesn't come around very often, at least not that much for the park district. On another topic that you said, I sat in Casey's chair for many years doing many of these projects and burned out. But the reality is if Casey needs help, you can always go outside for a consultant for the project, for writing a grant or whatever. It doesn't have to necessarily be him. So something to think about, something to look at in the next budget process too, which is coming up.
Exactly. Okay. So what are you asking then of us to do today, John?
I think the one thing we need, probably a motion on the tape, that we would agree to match the school district $750,000, provided that there's an agreement drafted and both parties agree to that agreement.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Sure, I will move that we match the $750,000 for the, I'll just call it the Ring Field project, you know, provided that, you know, we reach an agreement with the school district on the details.
We have a second.
Second.
Donna has moved and Gail has seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
This helps because we're putting the budget together.
So before we do the reports and comments from board members, there is a resolution that Dawn provided today. Dawn, do you want to go ahead and describe it?
It's just a resolution that we're applying for a grant, and should we get the grant, that will do the matching funds. We do it ever so often when we apply, is through the Oregon Park and Recreation Department. It's something that we always do. So the grant's for $750,000, and our match would be $350,000.
Oh, so you only have to do a 50% match. You don't do a 100% match.
Right.
Okay.
It's always 275.
All right. Do I have are there any questions about this?
Yeah, I have a question. So I didn't get this because I'm in the area. So is this for basically the match the school district's going to give us for this complex? Is that what we're talking about?
No, Jim.
I'm
It's-
sorry, I didn't see
It's
that.
the It's the Sanders estate property. So we're just applying for a state grant. And it's got to be in a couple of,
Next Friday.
next Friday, you know how they are.
I know exactly how they are. So do we have a match for this money?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
I can hold the resolution in front of my computer for you.
I don't think there's anything.
Thanks, Betty.
All right, I will entertain a motion then.
Motion to apply for the grant, is that what we're?
To approve the resolution.
Yeah.
To approve the resolution.
Gail has moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, do we have reports and comments from board members? I'll start with you, Don.
Nothing happened at the legislature that would be of any interest to us. That's my report.
All righty. Again, do you have any?
Pickleball days, is that what we're talking about?
Well, I guess the pickleball will come a little bit later. So, because you have a standing, so we'll do that in just a minute. Anything else though? No? How about you, Jim?
I have nothing.
All right. We did, the cultural center is, supposedly has gotten $5 million, and so is looking at doing the next phase of the improvements to it, for the theater and then the movement studio across the hallway. And we had a meeting with, the design people, what was that, a week and a half, last week?
Yeah.
Last week?
Yeah, 2 Fridays ago, or Friday ago.
Yeah, so it's moving forward. I think it's gonna end up personally being way more than $5 million to do everything they wanna get done, but at least they're gonna start looking into it, so I thought that was pretty exciting, actually. That's all I have for that, so. Next, updates on projects.
I guess that's the one to start with then. We held a pre-app meeting with the city of Newburgh, and they brought up a lot of issues from previous, going back to 2006. Increased parking area on the development of the second floor. There was things brought up there that I'm sure Jim knows about, and he's smiling up there in the corner. So all that's going to be brought to light, the sidewalks around the whole perimeter of the facility, for the most part. That's just on the outside, and there's a bunch of stuff that's going to have to happen inside as well. Apparently, we're not sure of the structural, and I'll have to ask you some questions on that, Jim. There's plywood on top that was put in there structurally. The insulation in the top portion of the building was removed. So there's a lot of other things that may have to happen before the theater develops. But we'll see. We're still waiting on equipment for the pool. Our infamous air mech units. They're supposed to be arriving the end of this month. But we'll see. They keep telling us the same thing. The culvert at Crabtree is, they're still not wanting us to mitigate that. They're still wanting us to replace it full culvert, which is $250,000 in itself, because it involves tearing up stream passage, and I don't know, it seems kind of silly to me, but it's a law.
Has John Bridges been involved? I have a question. Has John Bridges been involved with that at all, Don?
A little bit. He's been working with Page and easement, and he's aware of the situation. That the county denied that there was even a problem there right off the start. And until you go and look at the bottom of the culvert, there's no bottom of the culvert. To me, that's an issue. So that's Greg Apke. I don't know if you've talked to him at all. Is it ODF and W Fish?
It was a while back, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just really disappointing. I don't know, but the county has not. They've basically said they don't want to deal with it. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, John's aware that there's 3 parties involved: the gun club, the county, and ourselves, as well as Page. Page has already paid for a survey and easement, and you know, we have a lease of that park, but we have no. Prior to this, we did not have an actual easement into the park, and I called the culvert on the premise that it was a county road and that it was their problem, and they denied that there was a problem. So to me, that's kind of ignoring the situation. And so Don asked me to look into the culvert. That's where we're at now. Greenworks, as you all know, we got some funding from ODOT Community Pathways Grant for phase 1 of the bypass. It's kind of moving along in its own right. We applied to the city for an ARPA grant, did not receive that. Had asked the city up front for half of the grant, kind of a shared thing. They were named on the actual document that went to the ODOT for a grant, and they haven't come through on anything yet, other than we've got them to do some preliminary studies for us and to waive some fees and to look into what's going to be required on Industrial Avenue as far as ADA and curb ramps and that type of thing, because there is some things that may have to be done down there. And we have to apply for railroad crossing. So it's moving forward. We talked to Carrie Martin with the ODOT Railroad, and she says it's a process. It's just a matter of patience for the most part. It takes a while. So we're gonna probably try and get all that sorted out and get started on some of it this summer. City's agreed to do engineering on River Street and do all the design and for that whole from 11th to 14th, basically. So that's been helpful that their city staff is being directed to provide that information to us. And in July, or next August or September or whatever, CATS reached out to Helen Thompson with the Community Pass and the ODOT to do phase 2 of the bypass, which will get us $5.9 million, will get us all the way to Dundee with one more bridge. So we asked Alan if we could do concurrent to kind of keep the project rolling along, and we had no problems with that I'm aware of. So I guess it might be cheaper in the long run to do it all as one project than delay it and have a restart of everyone. So we're going to apply for that grant as well. And that's a federal grant. We have a 10% match on it, 10.27% match on that. So it's a little over, I want to say it's $650,000 for
$7.5 million. So that's where that's going. Rest of the stuff is, we just finished up aeration at the golf course, greens and tees. The aquatic center's been busy, and it's less busy because of lack of staff more than anything at this point. Andy's having a hard time getting staff. Like down at the golf course is having a hard time getting staff.
Care.
Everyone's having problems. So we're fighting that, but we'll get through there. And now Brian built another greenhouse out on Wilsonville for his plants and his programs that he's doing. I guess the camellia run's coming up, and usually supplies camellias for that and all kinds of things. So that's kind of where all the projects are at. Have I missed anything?
Do you have anything, any update to the county and your bridge going over to Ewing Park?
Yes, I do. It's not good news, but it's not unexpected news. So we're gonna do the land use application. They're gonna probably deny it, and then we're gonna have to appeal it. That's basically what's gonna happen, because for some reason, the county planning department thinks that bridges aren't part of trails. And that the land is AF10. It's an agricultural based land, but parks and trails are an allowable use on that land. And it's pretty much, nobody could get down there to farm it anyway. So that's what's gonna happen with that. And it might take a while, but.
Well, the other, if I may interject, the other part of that is that it's surrounded by residential above.
Yep.
It's in a floodplain, so it floods.
Yep.
And there's no way for anyone to get to it, period.
It's a creek.
Unless they come through those private huge houses up on top of it. So it's really an island. So I think that it's gonna be a slog. I get it, but I think it'll happen in the future.
All right, does anybody else have questions for Casey?
I don't have a question, but when you're dealing with the city and the cultural center, should note that the former mayor, not the current one, he's innocent, former mayor at the periodic, local government dinners used to just love to write about our cultural center as though he had anything to do with it. So, since it's our cultural center, then the city should, be more than happy to bend over backwards to work with us on it.
Seeing how we do have an IGA with the city and all that stuff, it should be an easier process and maybe not so cumbersome for, I'm sure they made some concessions and things earlier on during the build out, but all those things are coming back up at us, and we'll have to look at them, make sure that we have all the information that was documented before, to see because it's pretty, you can interpret it different ways, I guess, the way that the city wrote it. There was variances, there was for parking, there were variances for, I don't want to say sidewalks, and the patio wasn't on the master plan. Master plan's coming due in August. One of the questions was, do we have to do another one, or can we just base it off this one? And they said, no, you don't need to do another one. So in that respect, that was nice. Yeah.
For the board's information, the first master plan we ever did for that, we submitted to the city, had much more parking. It was the citizens in the city who said, no, we shouldn't have this. Nothing has changed in the development of that center inside since the day that we've started. It's the same facility, the same square footage, the same use, everything. Just each time we go in to do something, we go through all of this again. I just don't understand why. It's just a nightmare. And there's no reason for it. It's just idiotic, really. It's a waste of time. We've got better things to do. But even, I think it was when we did the deal, the first plan that we did something, then the second plan that we put in after we did the parking area, we put the patio in there. So the patio has been part of that deal for a long, long time. There was disagreements about the patio. Even when we built the patio, we had to go in and do a presentation about the patio and get it approved. So it's not like the end of the world, but it's just frustrating to keep going over the same thing time and time again. And it only costs money and time.
Well, I don't know, Jim, but I could have sworn originally where the parking is behind and where the patio is down that side was supposed to be future parking, if I remember correctly. And then they put the patio there. So, I mean, things have changed as we've gone along too. But it's, at this point, it's kind of moot. I mean, we just have to wait until we get there anyhow.
Well, again, the patio is pavers. The patio can be quote parked on. So it's not like it can't be used for that reason if it comes down to that, but, and it's temporary. I mean, they're pavers. It's not like it's in asphalt or concrete. So you got a lot of wiggle room there, I think, Don.
Yeah, but we'll see. I agree with you, Jim.
All right, does anybody else have questions for Casey? All right, move on in the pickleball advisory committee reports.
They're supposed to find out by the end of the month, about their grant. There's really been no.
They've gotten nothing.
They're waiting. Well, they're still optimistic. They had somebody from OHA contacted them and asked them some questions. So they're like, "Ooh, we're on the radar." But I have not yet gotten an email from Hunter saying anything, and I checked last today, so there's no new information.
Yeah, I did respond to OHA with the information that they requested, and it was just kind of what areas and what counties do we service. We should find out March 31st on that grant for sure. And then we've also applied for a second grant, and that is through Yamhill County. And I'm not quite sure when they'll be getting back to us, but I don't think there are as many people that applied for the Yamhill County grant as for the OHA grant. So.
And you'll hear it around the same time for both grants?
Yeah, I think it's May 1st, I think, on the Yamhill County grant, but it should be March 31st. It was supposed to be March 1st, and they had so many people apply for the OHA grant that they had to push it back a little bit. But I was kind of encouraged that they asked us additional questions. So we were, grateful for that.
Anybody have questions for the pickleball advisory? How about the Trails Advisory Committee? Yes, you did.
My son was injured in a skiing accident, so I wasn't able to make the last meeting. I had to come up to Seattle and take care of him. But I'm gonna specifically ask Casey, is I would like to get a date that we could take our trail builder up there and take a look at the property for Knutson Erath. I mean, they're asking about it and I don't want to put them on hold. So I'd like to get a date and a time set so we can get the folks looking at that and making sure that they understand we're still moving on it and not waffling here.
Russ will be going to Hawaii for the next 10 days. We'll be back after that, so.
Okay, if you could shoot me a number any day.
Does anybody have questions for the Trails Committee?
Well, I have some questions. I don't know who they're for. I mean, I am close friends with two people on the committee, and they complain to me all the time that the committee is ineffectual, that the chair is particularly ineffectual, and that they're not getting anything done. And right now, they're bogged down in writing bylaws. And I would like to know why on earth that committee thinks they need bylaws. They don't need bylaws.
Can Jim answer it?
I don't know if Jim can answer that.
You know, again, I wasn't the last meeting when this came up. I've kind of been hands off because my understanding was it wasn't us to drive the group. It was a voluntary group for them to organize themselves. Kat, I think you were at the last meeting, or was it? Casey?
Yes, I was there, yes.
So she might be able to give you a little more information in the last meeting.
Well, I can tell you that they did spend most of their time on bylaws. And
Why do they think they need bylaws?
that I can't answer for them. I don't know where that came from. Just that that's the way that they're going about it. They circulated a questionnaire to each other, asking for basic input on trails, maintenance issues, things like that. And over the weekend, their planning subcommittee either met or tried to meet off-site from here. So they're going to try and meet more frequently together off-site and then bring all their subcommittees together here. But right now, most everyone is on the planning subcommittee, and they're struggling for more people on the grant or the fundraising and the outreach subcommittees, but that's up to them to organize themselves. But
You
that's
might
where
want
they're
to
at.
suggest to them that they might want like a charter for the committee rather than bylaws, because a charter will kind of set out what their intent is of the committee. But bylaws are really for an actual legal entity, which they're not. Right? They're just a committee that is advising us. So I don't know, so that they don't spend too much time and effort and potentially money on it. I don't know. It is a committee and it's theirs to do, but at some point, if they don't come back to us with stuff, then it's not gonna go very far. And
We'll call the chairman, Kat and I'll call the chairman, discuss it with her, and see if the charter would work, or if she's specifically with those bylaws or not. We'll just bring it back to you.
okay. All right, next on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
You have, just want to remind the board, I keep it on the agenda about the SDCs. I put it back in page 35. This is a normal thing that we do every year. The board required that we do it, and it's based on the criteria, so I did it again. I'll put that on page 35. So just wanted to bring that up during the public meeting and make sure it was out there.
Thank you.
Hey, Dawn, do you want to ask something? You want to talk about the Old Fashioned Festival? Not talk about it, but just does the board want to participate in the Old Fashioned Festival?
Yeah,
Wait.
you're right. Do you guys want to ride in the Old Fashioned Festival parade this year?
Sure, I mean, unless it's a hassle, if it's a really big hassle for y'all.
We will not be having a float.
We're not gonna have a float, but we can provide the carts and do those type things and get an entry.
Candy and stuff like that. We could decorate the carts and stuff like that.
What do you guys think?
It's up to you guys. If you would like to participate, we'd love to have you, and if you don't, then it kind of depends on what you do on that Saturday.
So we're not gonna have a kid float.
No,
It's more about the kids in the community. Then I guess we can wave and say thank you and everything, but it's like,
Yeah.
you guys have something with the kids involved in it.
yeah, we're in charge of the children's stage, and so that takes a lot of staff time, and so it's hard to do both that day.
So the question is, do you want to be in the Old Fashioned Festival parade?
John used to ride golf cart.
He probably has his own personal one, I don't.
I sold it to the Friend Cemetery.
How many would make it? Jim?
I can't say I'll do it if I'm in town.
Okay,
No, for sure I'll be in town.
all right,
I mean, I would do it if
I
everybody
assume
else.
I'll be around.
all right.
We
Then,
haven't done it in a couple of years. It's sort of a tradition. I think it's good for the board to be seen.
all right,
Parade, so-
then we'll put,
Yeah.
we'll put a float, or we'll call it golf carts a float.
Yeah.
We'll get a position we'll do it.
We'll get you some candy.
And we'll
Some signage.
decorate it.
Yeah.
We'll decorate the carts this year.
Alrighty. All right, staff reports are up next.
Well, first of all, Gonzaga just lost. I don't know if you guys even.
Oh, wow.
42% of people have Gonzaga winning the tournament this year, and I just my phone's going off like crazy. Ah, dang it. So we talked a little bit about pickleball. We do plan to have two tournaments this summer. So we're excited about that. In terms of the sports department, we've opened adult basketball. We're going to be playing at Mountain View this year, Don. Lacrosse, soccer, middle school track, they've all begun. So you probably see them practicing, but their games are going to be starting first weekend in April. Yep. Great participation this year. Again, I talked a little bit about soccer. We just have so many kids. It's really, really neat. Camellia Run is April 9th. We're planning and preparing for that. We have 50, last year at this time, we have 50 additional people, or 50 more people signed up at this point than we did last year. So we're super excited about that. I'm working with a gentleman by the name of Ken Dana, and it's kind of neat, he makes our medals for the Camellia Run. That's very unusual. The medals are actually made out of trees on our property, and we engrave them with the Camellia Run insignia, and we put first place, second place, third place, and they are really beautiful like ribbon that goes around them, and so it makes it a unique race. And then each runner, walker, gets a 1 gallon camellia, and then a black shirt with a pink camellia on the front. So we're very excited about that. We've had some donations this year towards marketing of that program, and we're hoping for a nice weather. We had the Invasion at the Father-Daughter Dance at the Armory this past month. We did receive a State of Oregon Child Care Stabilization Grant for our CARE program. It was about $26,000, and we'll receive another $26,000 the end of June. Matt Compton applied for that, and that grant is to be used for staffing, any kind of PPE, and just fun things for the kids, and for scholarships for participants in our CARE program. Our CARE program we're gaining, we're adding kids at a pretty good rate, but like Casey mentioned, our staffing is tough, and one of the it'll be a little tougher for us because a lot of the George Fox kids will go home. So we've been meeting weekly with staff just to figure out, gosh, what can we do? What can we offer? But where can we go to get these, to get these staffers? So we don't really have a problem actually bringing them in, but we're competing with everyone else. So let's see, we have 90 kids on the wait list for swim lessons at the aquatic center, Jim. And so we brought in we've hired the one of the assistant GFU swim team coaches, and he's helping us out a lot by teaching swim lessons for us. Of course, Wendy's in the water and Chris is in the water, and
Well, my question for you on that is that, your largest revenue generator is those swim lessons.
I know.
If you're not, I don't know whether it's paying the people or getting trained people or what the problem is, but you're losing a big chunk of the revenue that aquatic center makes. So somehow, even 90 on the waiting list, whereas if you were fully staffed, you wouldn't have a waiting list. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. Yep.
Then,
And it's been it's just staffing. It's literally staffing. Wendy's teaching. We just don't have the staff right now. And again, like I said, people are going. We have our George Fox kids going away. Gail, did you have something?
I can speak to that a little bit because my two oldest kids
Yeah,
are both
please
lifeguards
do.
and swim instructors.
Please do.
And a lot of their friends have left, and it is due to the McDonald's sign that says 14 and 15-year-olds for whatever they're paying now.
Yeah.
And whether I don't even think they're actually going to McDonald's to work, they just think that's out there.
Yes.
So that's what the kids are saying.
Yeah. It's been tough. It's been tough. And a lot of our kids, we're on the swim team, and George Fox kids were on the swim team, and so that was hard for them too. So Wendy and Tara, I met with Tara and Wendy and two other gals, Krista and Haley Goldhammer, on Monday to work through that. And so we are efforting the George Fox coaches, and we're trying to bring some contractors in to maybe help with that as well. So
I think COVID really set you folks back. I get that. But one thing you might want to think about, and one thing that I did in the past, is I would look at moms that are home, that are, don't have kids anymore, that want, this part-time small amount of, hours. I started looking in that direction. You keep looking at these, and I always told Tara, quit looking at the competitive kids because they get so pulled in so many directions. It's hard to count on them a lot of times.
Yeah.
Not that they don't do a good job.
Yeah.
But you need that, stability, and looking at those parents may be a way to go.
Yeah,
looking at kids all the time.
we did talk about that. Actually, Tara and I talked about it at length, and they have contacted the parents of like the CST and the high school parents. That is something that Tara identified on Monday, and evidently they've been in touch with all those parents. Actually, Wendy's done a nice job emailing the coaches of all the teams that are participating there to see if their families or anybody in their families would be interested. So we're still
You've got all those ladies in water exercise. You got a ton of them. People like that. Start looking in that direction. I think you're going to have to.
Yeah.
Retired swim directors that have nothing better to do.
Yeah, I can't fit in a suit anymore. Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Well, if you get out of the Speedo and get some real trunks,
Wait, we want people to come into the facility, right?
Exactly.
Jeez.
Of course, if all of Gail's kids would teach instead of just two, we'd have the problem solved.
And the two little ones are teaching. That's cool. You just gotta wait a few months for the next one.
We did just sign a lady. She's a really neat gal named Stacy Cannon, and we're going to be offering triathlon training at the aquatic center. So we're excited about that. I think that'll be lots of fun. She teaches our SUP yoga as well. And let's see, the high school, George Fox, they just completed their swim team seasons. And Club Polo has started their spring season, and CST continues on with their swim practices. Our budgets have complete. We got all of our budgets in, and so staff did a great job with that, and we're reviewing them right now just to make sure that you know, that everything looks good. And I can't think of anything else.
Does anybody have questions for Julie? Thank you, Julie. Is Kellen on?
Yes.
I am here. Hello.
Hi, Kellen.
I second Julie's comments about Gonzaga. That is a tough loss. Painful. But yeah, we are, it feels like we're ready for summer out at the golf course. As Casey said, we just kind of finished aeration most of the way. Monday was not a good weather day, so they got held up a little bit, but Mike and the crew did a great job getting almost everything finished, and we'll continue to finish fairways as we go along in the next couple weeks. We've got high school golf, a couple high school golf tournaments coming up in April. And then our leagues start beginning early May. And then tournaments kind of start kicking off in June, first weekend in June, basically. And that's when we really hit full stride. But we'll be busy real soon. We have, I would say we're pretty much steady with our full shotgun tournaments this year. And then our smaller events, smaller to size events, it seems like they've taken an uptick a little bit. So we do have more golfers in that realm, trying to fit them into the schedule. But yeah, it looks like a good year coming up.
Thank you. Anybody have questions for Kevin?
How many new carts did we get?
We got 40 new golf cars. Elites. They are awesome. Way less maintenance, and they are built to go longer. So we're excited.
People will be happy if they'll just go 18 holes.
We found a way to get through, but yeah, we're excited that that's over.
Do they have a different governor on them? I had a couple different people tell me that they go faster.
To my knowledge, they go the same speed.
Okay.
I think they might go a little faster on the get-go because they weigh a couple hundred less pounds, but they're going to go the same top speed. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Kellen.
And I want to thank Kellen too. Kellen took, we took a golf cart out to the high school, and they're going to use that for kind of monitoring. Lisa Joyce is going to use that for monitoring the high school, to be able to chase some of those kids around. And
They don't go that fast.
well, if you've seen her drive, I'm not sure, but we will also be able to use that on Saturdays during Saturdays or Sundays during our youth games out at the high school. It's going to be great. And so thank you, Kellen, for doing that. That was really nice of you to provide that for them. They're thrilled about it. So thank you.
Happy to do it.
That one of the old ones?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Oh, good. They won't chase them very far.
All right, thank you, Kellen.
Yep.
Heidi, did you have anything?
She's not on.
Oh, she's not, okay. Right. Pat?
Just keeping the fuel in the machine with getting all our information out and about more and many things going on. Been working heavily on drafting this grant application that you signed for permission for tonight, so thank you for that. Also working with Casey on another grant application I'll be presenting next Friday to the city, which was for the Butler property improvement, which was kind of a joint effort together with cultural district members. Don't know what our prospects are for getting that. There are about 20 people or 20 applicants in that process. But anyway, that happens next Friday. And just lots of marketing, been doing a lot of marketing with the chamber. They're also now promoting job openings for members. So they've been helping us with that as well. You look over on this wall, you'll see this gorgeous wall calendar. That's all of our marketing campaign stuff is being organized on that. So it's real good tool for the staff to use, for everybody to be on the same page and see what's happening when. Like today, if you saw the graphic this week, we were in there for the the Wednesday market's going to be open in May. The new graphic reporter, Megan, and I have spent quite a bit of time together, and I've loaded her little book with story ideas, so that we're starting to reap the rewards of that. And the markets was one of those things that has just come up, so Erin did a nice job, Erin Harrington, with the interview for that. So just that kind of thing. That's just day in the life, day-to-day stuff that I do. So it's just, yeah, just keeping the engine running and the fuel and the security machine.
Okay. How about you, Richard?
Yeah, thanks. Where to start? So I built some software for the aquatic center. We call it pool management system. It allows us to log all of the chemical checks and everything from the lifeguards all the way to the CPOs. Here's like a little overview of what it looks like. And we also have an active log, so all that gets logged and then it automatically prints it up at midnight to be logged in a book. So it also has some calculators, and then we can also graph, different values, of course. So anyway, that's some software that I wrote. Other than that, we've been working on the boiler at the aquatic center and the cultural center. The cultural center had a bad motor and pump, so we replaced that. At the aquatic center, we had to do maintenance. With all the smoke and fires, our boiler has been going into alarm constantly since those fires we had last summer. And we finally found out that we need to clean the boiler deeply, and that has since fixed that issue. So, yeah, a lot of programming, working on things, getting us ready for the next fiscal year, and planning out computer upgrades, because as Windows is doing Windows 11 as the new operating system, a lot of our old computers aren't compatible with that, so we're having that phase.
Thank you. Any questions for anybody? Alrighty, thank you all. There is a citizens' comments, so there's the one lady that's complaining a lot. About masking or not. Is that a non-issue because we're not masking anymore? Or?
Well, we hope so.
It's up to individuals now. It's not on us. There's no mask required indoors. It's public transportation still and healthcare settings. So it really doesn't. Yeah, she had a point, but at the same point, you can't babysit people. It's not our job to police. It is our job to monitor, and that's what we're doing. She thinks that we're going to stand there and watch over everyone all the time. You can't do that.
And actually, it was kind of an awkward situation too, because what ended up happening was she was policing it. And so I was talking to Dawn about it earlier, and you have this lady over here, and she has valid, that's valid, but you have 20 other people that are in the same facility where she's at, and now they're angry, because she's all over them, and it would just, every day we would say, oh, COVID, they just continued to haunt us. And we could just do our best, and we followed what the state asked us to do. We were consistent. We tried really, really hard, to please, or to do what we were supposed to be doing. And my gosh, so we're happy. She has not been back. I will say that, and that's unfortunate. So we hope that she feels comfortable, and we definitely will invite her back with open arms when she does decide to do that, and hope that she feels safe.
All right, if there is no more, somebody want to move to adjourn?
I have one question.
Yeah.
We have a budget process coming up. We'll be receiving those budgets soon, I expect. I know it's a fun time for everybody.
I think Casey said, did you just say tomorrow?
Yes.
Yeah. tomorrow.
The budget calendar spells all that out.
Because I'm out the rest of this week, so I'll come pick it up on Monday.
All right,
Good to know.
that's good. We'll have it here for you.
Okay.
We'll also be emailing digital copies, so you'll have that option.
Oh, nice.
Because the binder is the hard copy, so if you would prefer not to receive a binder, let us know. Otherwise, tomorrow Casey will do the annual delivery, home delivery service of them.
Thank you.
So we want to move to adjourn? Thank you, Gail. All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, Jim,
Yes.
could you keep him on for a second? What happened to your son?
Oh, he was snowboarding and coming off the chair with his wife. She fell ahead of him on the ground and he fell after her, but he landed. So the snowboard was on edge, so he landed with his knee right on that sharp edge, like on a knife.
Yeah.
And so it cut him below his knee, cut his tendon 70%.
Oh,
So it was real bad. I mean, it was really bad. They had to, bring him down the sled off the mountain and get him down to the hospital and
wow.
up inside. So he has to keep his legs straight for 6 weeks.
Oh, jeez.
And then after that, we'll see.
Oh,
Wow.
that sounds terrible.
I'm sorry. Give him a hug for us.
It
Yeah,
was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
yeah, keep us posted on that. That's, I'm so sorry. It's terrible.
What is it?
Yeah, it was not fun taking care of an invalid that's.
Yeah. Oh, man, sorry about that.
No more trips for you, Jim.
See ya.
Good later.